Hi, it's Tony Buffum with Human Cloud here at SIA's CollaborationX conference live in Dallas. And I'm with Margaret Lilani of Highspring. Margaret, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thanks so much for having me here.
I'm so happy to have you. It's from our old days working together at Upwork, and now we're in two different places, but kind of in the same space, which is really exciting. Tell me a little bit about Highspring.
Yeah, so Highspring is a global professional services firm. We focus on consulting, managed services, and talent solutions. Although the Highspring name is relatively new, we rebranded to Highspring this year in Q1. The company actually has a almost 25-year history. Started out in staffing and expanded into other areas. Yeah, I mean, are you that old, Tony?
Barely. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
It's all good, all good.
So you've broken out into some other areas, you said, since it started out in staffing.
We have, and our founders really started in accounting and finance staffing, broadened into other verticals, and then as the company evolved, realized that our clients needed more than just staffing. While we do staffing, we branched into executive search, but our clients were demanding outcomes, so we looked at management consulting as well as outsourcing, and over the years have become a global company. We are almost 10,000 people worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So I can imagine as the markets are changing so, unexpected, they're hard to predict.
Yeah.
All the markets that all of your clients are working in, they need the ability to adapt and adjust with whatever kind of staffing type or staffing model that they need at the time. So offering them those different solutions makes it a lot easier to help them navigate that.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of alluded to this in what I was just saying, but when our clients come in, we really try to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
We try to look at them as helping as a partner to help solve their business problems. And so one size may not fit all, where a company may be introduced to us for a basic staffing need to backfill a position or something like that, or even bring in a small team. As we get to talk to them and we uncover the problems that they're trying to solve and the goals that they have, it may turn out that, they need interim search or they need executive search. They may actually need a global team because it's important to them to follow the sun. They may need a nearshore team because they want to have extended resources, but within their time zone and within their language constraint. They may need management consulting for top line strategy as well. And so bringing all of that together under one umbrella really allows us to be agile and get them what they need. And so we've actually developed something that we like to call the Agility Index that we utilize with our clients, where we will go in and do an assessment of how agile a company is. And we've built a calculator as well that we keep on our website that allows them to do so as well.
Oh, so they can go in there themselves and get kind of a sense of what is our agility score right now.
Yeah, so we're working on the self-service version of that. So right now we are doing the calculator hand in hand with our clients, but the goal is to have this be a self-service indicator. Great. So you can go in and really get a basic assessment of how agile you are, because especially in today's environment, agility is probably the number one thing that companies need.
Yeah, and they can accomplish that more effectively by leveraging the whole ecosystem of partners or tools or different talent models to make them be as successful as possible.
100%. It's the right need at the right time with the right talent at the right price and the right quality. So it allows them to flex up and flex down. Yeah,
and I find that while conferences like this and others, we talk a lot about AI.
Yeah.
And people are thinking, well, you get agility through more technology. We know that's not the case. But how are companies leveraging AI to help, approach some of those needs?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, so I'm very glad you asked. A lot of companies over the last couple of years have really engaged with AI around the fringes. It's like, what are the lowest level things that we don't want to do anymore, that we can have the machine do? And that's great. I mean, it's a good way to get into it. It's a good way to drive adoption within an organization. But if you do that and you just stop there, you're never going to get the full value. The way that I like to think about it is, this is just another another means by which we should be thinking about the construct of work. In the same way that we think about flexible talent, whether it's global labor or independent talent or what have you, this is just the next step of it. And when we think about applying that to our workforce and to our business, it doesn't work if you just start at the fringes. You have to think about what you're trying to accomplish. And in some cases, you have to take the whole thing apart and put it back together again. Now, that sounds complex and that sounds scary. So we're not necessarily doing it, not necessarily saying do it all at once, but you have to be in that forward thinking so you don't get caught in a place where you can't evolve.
Yeah, AI, leveraging it can really be transformative, but doing it as a Band-Aid or doing it superficially really can probably be destructive.
Yeah, 100%, because you're basically just kicking the can down the road. Like if you have a process that doesn't work and you're doing it with humans and you're like, well, let me make myself more efficient by taking the humans off and putting the AI in, that process still doesn't work. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you're going to realize that it's broken and you're probably just going to have to end up bringing humans in to clean up the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested now, what are some of the trends you're seeing with your enterprise clients now? What's new maybe over the last year?
Well, if you've read any headline around consulting in the last couple of months, you will see that there is scrutiny on the billable hour.
Yeah.
Especially with just all of the events of this year and looking at what talent is delivering, and with the way that the economy is going or not going, like everybody's cost conscious. Mm-hmm. And so if we're going to bill by the hour, we need to make sure that the client is getting what they need from that hour. Many of our clients are pushing us towards outcome-based pricing. Yeah. Where we walk into a situation with them hand in hand and we are jointly accountable for the outcome on that of achieving a business goal, not necessarily just a fixed price for an item or for a service, but a joint business goal. We like that because it really puts us in a partnership seat with them and takes us out of a vendor seat with them. And it allows us to really manage our resources so that we give them the best at the right time. That's
great. So I imagine you're not just setting the goal, but maybe KPIs or milestones along that process. So you're in lockstep for how we're going to approach this.
Yeah.
And you've got some synergy, to use a corporate jargon word, but in terms of how you're going to partner to make sure it's going to be successful.
Yeah, it's all about accountability. It really is. It's accountability and outcomes. Mutual accountability, exactly. And it makes sure that you have to be communicating. You have to get those expectations in at the front. And if you do that wrong, you're going to go off kilter really quickly.
Now, a lot of organizations struggle with, as we talked a second ago about AI, this rapid evolution of skills.
Yeah.
And how do you make sure your organization or your clients, that they're getting the skills that they need that are most in demand that can be really hard to find?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, first and foremost, we're looking at the work that our external talent is doing. We're breaking that down in a way that, perhaps we hadn't in the past as to like what skills are necessary. If you'll recall, we rebranded, and in that rebrand, we brought 7 brands together. And so you can almost think of that as 7 different languages of skills. Yeah. And so that's forced us to create a common language internally, but really to look at those skills and look at the ones that are relevant and the ones that we need more of. We're also educating our internal employees. And so part of this is how we mature as an organization, but how we bring AI into the organization and into our internal workflows. People don't have those skills if they haven't developed them on their own. And again, we want everybody marching in the same direction. And so we've really had to invest in that both internally and externally to make sure that we can continue with that evolution.
How is that going? I mean, one of the key things I always hear about AI is adoption. And usually when you look at enterprises adopting AI, it's this first addressing the trust factor, the threat of it or the intimidation or the FOMO, whatever it might be, but getting that adoption to stick. Any challenges, any surprises?
Well, I mean, I'll start, I think, like the most important thing is with the narrative. Like you can't go in with gloom and doom. You have to be realistic. But at the last SIA conference, there was somebody who was in their presentation referred to AI as the humans are still the superheroes. We're just giving them the capes with AI, which I love. Yeah. And so like thinking about it that way, if you don't manage expectations on the front end, though, that fear is going to come out. Like the other thing is really looking at how you can centralize things, not necessarily like ruling with an iron fist, but putting up a wins wall, if you will, for early adoption so that you build virality, finding your influencers, the people who are doing it and doing it right, and like holding hands with them as you build up the governance so that it becomes a collective effort.
Well, in So you talk about influencers, I start thinking of change management. We were talking a second ago.
We were.
That's been a surprise at the conference, right?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, we walked in here and this was supposed to be an AI conference, but I've heard more talk about change management than I expected to. I'm glad though that we are talking about it because I think it really is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
You know, as we evolve, as staffing as an industry evolves, as human capital evolves, the change management, if it's not executed properly, is going to leave too many people behind.
And I'm sure that's important for you, but it's also important for your clients as you're helping them on the same journey that really you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, customer zero is a concept that I've loved for a long time. You know, like I like to speak about it more elegantly, and as you know, call it drinking your own champagne a bit. So we're taking these use cases in house, and then we're able to go out and talk to our clients and say, hey, we're doing this already. We are your proof point. So it's a much better way to do it than just say, hey, we designed this deck. Now you need to follow the instructions. Go do it, and we're going to bill you by the hour for it. Yeah,
I do like though, to your point, that AI is definitely a theme in the conference. There's tons of AI companies here, but I've already done several of these podcast interviews.
Yeah.
So many of them have talked about AI is really change management. Like for it to be successful, it's transformative, which means you have to manage the adoption. You have to make sure that you're planning and it's strategic and you're building a vision around it that the whole organization can get aligned in behind.
Yeah, I mean, we are going through a rapid transformation in the professional world. If you think back to, you know, when electricity came on the scene and people had to transition from like gaslit lamps in their homes to having a light switch, like that's a huge change. And now apply that to where we are today. Like again, you have to meet people where they are. You have to have that empathy. You have to manage expectations. You have to bring them along with you.
Yeah. Someone said earlier, it wasn't 30 years ago, people didn't really know how to type. Like not everybody, we all know how to type. And I was thinking, not only know how to type, but type pretty effectively with just your thumbs.
Oh my God. I talk to my son and I tell him about the good old days, or not the good old days, but the olden times before we had the internet. And he's like, I don't believe you.
It is hard for them to get their hand, understandably, because now it's moving so fast. They have access to so much information everywhere they go. It can be overwhelming. And we all live in that world and it's only accelerating.
Yeah.
So making sure our organizations are prepared for that and making sure our clients are making the best decisions they can to make sure they're prepared for that. It really requires there's no one simple solution. So it requires access to all of the different employment types or talent resourcing, channels that you can find.
Yeah, 100%. And so like we're constantly looking at that, and I and my peers and the rest of my organization, we're really diving into as much learning as we possibly can. Just talk to as many people, read the books, read the articles, like have a curious mind. If you don't stay curious, it's a big hindrance.
Yeah. So as a CRO, what are you bringing to that role in terms of that vision for where you think Highspring can go? Like, what's the horizon that you're starting to build a vision around?
Yeah, so if we think about our evolution, and like I said, we have our roots in staffing. We've made sure that we've looked at what the world needs, the business world needs as we've evolved. This is the next frontier. It's looking at how we become an AI-driven company. And as we move into the future, how do we blend a digital workforce in with our already existing domestic workforce and global workforce? And really, how do we tell that story? How do we become obviously we want a larger piece of the market share, but at the end of the day, like we also want to positively influence how the world works.
Absolutely. Well, and just like you said, being customer zero, you want the same thing for your clients.
Yeah.
As you start to build that out, what are some of the hurdles or points of resistance that you see as trends across enterprises that they're thinking and intend to do the same thing, but have some hesitation?
You know what's interesting is I feel like when AI came on the scene, nobody knew what to do with it, right? And like the big thing was like go in, consult, teach on how to use AI. That was the end of 2022. That was 2023. It's almost 2026 now. Yeah. What I found is that most enterprises are doing something with AI, but they probably started early, and whatever they were doing doesn't necessarily have the longevity because they started with generative AI. We've moved into the world of agentic AI, and we're looking at what is on the next frontier. Yeah. And so the hardest part to your question is really examining what is in their ecosystem and then being able to give that guidance and look look at our own ecosystem and think about, okay, what are the best practices and how do we get everybody marching in the same direction? I think that many enterprises are experiencing this similarly right now.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for any organization to look internally when they're trying to move forward so fast.
Yeah.
Like changing the wheels on your car while you're driving it.
Totally.
Which is why it takes partners to help kind of hold up that mirror, give you some options, and help you identify what are industry trends, but what's the best fit for that respective client.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody knows it all now. And like, no one's going to know it all. We're going to look back in 20 years and be like, oh, that happened, but like, the experts are constantly changing. Like as the new tech evolves and the new best practices evolve, like it's really just a matter of continuing to stay apprised of it so that you can develop the right strategy. The other thing is like, we're not solving new problems here.
Yeah.
Like, and I hit on this earlier, like at the end of the day, like the business problems are the business problems that we had 5 years ago. They just might have a different skin on them.
Yeah.
And so if we think about like breaking those down into pieces and then thinking about where we're solving, like we're not doing anything novel here. And so we don't need to be intimidated by it.
I really like that point because it is at its outset, it can be overwhelming and intimidating. You see .ai is growing and growing, and you hear about a lot of new technology, and you hear about all these new launches and new versions of tools we're already using. People can get really overwhelmed, but a lot of what's overwhelming is the hype that's overwhelming. Actually applying it and learning it is pretty fun and engaging once you get over that initial fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thinking about like, okay, 5 years ago, I had X number of tools in my toolkit to solve a business problem. Well, I have a really big one now, and it's AI. And so how do I layer that in with everything else that I've got as my other tools evolve? And so it's just broadening your tool set so that you can be a better solution provider.
Now, what right now are you working on or about to work on that you're the most excited about?
Well, I just expanded our European operations.
Okay.
So that was really exciting. We already had a bit of a base over there, but we opened up an office in Dublin. And so we've just brought on an EU team that complements our APAC team and our Latin America team. So that, going back to people, I am very, very excited about, just to connect all those global points and really be able to deliver with our, across the realm. What's really fun though, getting back to the AI question, is I brought the team together for like their first meeting, and we ran around the room and talked about how each of them were using AI in either the orgs that they came from or in their best practices. And the conversation was like off the wall, like through the charts. Like it was amazing at all of these ideas that these people brought in and the amazing talent that we brought in through this new endeavor. Now, we've decided that we're going to make a habit of that. Anytime we bring on a new hire, it's going to be a requirement to talk, to obviously not disclosing anything confidential, but to make sure that we're bringing in those fresh ideas and thinking about those best practices and really like just continuing the brain trust there to make sure that we're getting it.
There's nothing better than or hearing from others how they're actually applying it every day. It's one thing to talk about theory and high level concepts, but what people come up with to solve simple challenges that they experience in their day-to-day work is often so easily applicable to everybody else. We just didn't think of it. But now someone inspired you and it might inspire a brand new thought of a different way that you could use AI that you weren't yesterday.
Totally. And so yeah, and that brings it back into this agility index. Like we launched the 1.0, we're not going to stop there. Of course, yeah. So like agility isn't just going to be a buzzword. It really is the name of the game for ever and a day. And so thinking about how we can layer in best practices and the learnings that we get at a conference like this and talking to other experts out there and just continuing to stay on top of it so that both we and our customers can remain agile.
Well, I love that. I love the agility index.
Yep.
If people are interested in that or in anything else that Highspring has to offer, what's the best way to get in touch with you and the organization? Yeah,
so definitely check out our website. It's highspring.com, and there's information about all of that on there. There are prompts to get in touch with an account rep, but also find me on LinkedIn. Always happy to have a conversation. Like I said, I love talking to people.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hanging out with you the rest of this conference.
Yeah.
And best of luck.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tony.
Thank you.